Hello everybody. First, I apologize for the lighting. I only have backlighting. I hope to fix that in the future, as I'm planning on making a bunch of videos of me just rambling on about my political beliefs and philosophical beliefs. But anyways, this video is going to be about capitalism, something that is a dirty word these days. And I don't know why. I partially know why, but I don't understand the broad condemning nature that everyone has put upon the word capitalism. They use the word capitalism in a general way, even though they know there's more than one type of capitalism. So this is going to be about free market capitalism versus state capitalism. Mainly because right now we have state capitalism, and I want free market capitalism. I'm an anarchist, and I don't want a state. So, free market capitalism seems to be the best. But we'll start off with state capitalism, corporatism, what some would call fascism. Because if the definition of fascism, or one of the definitions of fascism, is when corporations own the government, I think you can see why we might be in a fascist state right now. Because corporations at least own the politicians who are in government. So it's like a tongue-in-cheek way of being a fascist state. Anyways, I don't believe that corporations should exist. As an anarchist, corporations wouldn't exist in anarchy, because to be a corporation... By the way, a corporation is not a big business. That's not what the word means. At least not in U.S. terms. In U.S. American terms, it's when the government grants a business personhood. I know there's been the whole, corporations are not people. Well, kind of the definition in this country is it's a legal status. Thus, if there's no law, if there's no government to grant the status, corporatehood, you wouldn't have corporations. And to be a corporation, all it does, the main purpose, I should say, is to absolve the owners of responsibility for when they screw up. When you sue them, you're suing the corporation. And the CEOs, all those types, they get the same pay that they always got. They don't feel a penny hurt from when you sue them. Now, they do pass that stuff down. The whole shit rolls downhill kind of applies. Anyways, so I'm against that. I don't think there should be a such thing as corporations, in my opinion. I don't think there would be in a free market. Now, I hear a lot of people say, everything today, all the problems are caused by free markets. You can't have free market capitalism, that's the problem. Well, we don't have free market capitalism because, well, frankly, the definition, or at least part of the definition, one of the definitions of free market capitalism, it always includes this little part that government can't be involved. I think that alone shuts up the whole, this is what happens. How is this what happens? Because in a free market, government isn't involved. They don't touch it at all. So this isn't a free market. And you can't get to the point where government's involved with a free market, because the second the government gets involved, it's not a free market anymore. That's just the way it is. So there's no way to argue that what we're in right now in America, the problems are because of a free market. Because if we had one, they would not have allowed a government to affect them and get their hands on them, because that's not a free market. So, moving on, or rather, to back up that argument and other arguments like it, you get people say, especially communist socialist types, to say, well, when you have less regulation, you get stuff like the triangle fire. Yeah, okay. So your argument is, when there's less regulation, stuff like the Triangle Fire just happens all the time, right? Okay, then why is the Triangle Fire the only example in the time that the Triangle Fire happened? You should have hundreds of examples if you're saying that at the time there was low regulation and thus disasters happened like crazy, right? So why is that the only example you have of the time? You should have hundreds, if not thousands. Logic much? Anyways, they move on to say, well, what about Bangladesh? Yeah, that just happened. You mean during the not free market that we have? Yeah. You mean during the corporatist or state capitalism that we have? That's not even close to free markets? Yeah, I'm sorry, you can't use that example. It makes no sense. So, moving on from there, I think that should shut it up. If it doesn't, then you're just not listening, and you're I'm sorry, you're not using logic. You're not being reasonable. You have to understand things. You have to look at it and actually question. I still to this day do not understand people who are like, well, see, when you have less regulations, the Triangle Fire happens. If that was the norm, it would be everywhere during that time. Not just one incident of one asshole. Or it was, I think, co-owned by brothers. So some brothers who were assholes to not protect their own building. If that was the norm, it would be everywhere. Never mind. Moving on. So what would free market mean? Well, let's start with an example that I think people would know recently. Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A recently offended people with the owner commenting, saying that he believed in traditional marriage as per Christian, the Christian religion, which everybody knows means, well, or at least it's been meant to mean that gays can't get married. That's the way it goes. And people were mad at him for that. And the truth of the matter is, so what? Why does that matter? Be mad at him. Don't buy his food. Don't buy his food if you don't like it. Don't ever buy there again. And people go, well, it's discriminatory. It's discriminatory for him to say what he believes in that doesn't affect the way he operates his business whatsoever? No, it'd be discriminatory if it changed the way he ran his business. The fact of the matter is there were gay people that worked there who were rather off-put by the clientele afterwards, who came up to them thinking they felt the same way just because they worked at Chick-fil-A. Not the case. Anyways, in a free market, stuff like that would change the market. Here's how it would work. Say you have a business and something like that happens. If it's big enough that it changes the way people buy, you would either change your ways, you would either shut up about that from then on. Something, if you want to keep your business open, if it affected it enough to where everybody stopped buying from you. I think I'm getting off track, but let's get back to more not so specific type of free market, because I'm running out of time. Most in particular, I get the argument hierarchical systems are wrong and unfair, unjust, and should not be, and you have to have that in a free market capitalist society. Not true. That's just not true. In a free market capitalist society, you can make a business however you want. It's up to you how you run it. No one can choose how you run it. If you want to run a co-op, run a co-op. If you invent something and it's so great you want to get it on the market and spread it around and have everybody buy it. Okay, well, you invent something and you're like, all right, I need help to build this because I can't do it on my own. I can't mass produce something by myself. But I invented this thing. Okay, if you want to do like what communists or socialists usually say to me, whereas a business should be co-owned by the employees, it should be even. Okay, if you invent something and you're a communist and you think that's the way it should go, well, in a free market capitalist society, do your business that way. Start it and say, hey, will you help me? You will be co-owner. You'll probably get a lot of people that are like, yeah, I'm in on that. I didn't even have to think up the idea and you want me to be co-owner? This is like, I didn't even have to try. Of course I'm going to be in on that. But guess what? Free market. You do that if you want to. No one's stopping you. So it's not really all that bad. But the thing is like, communists, socialists don't believe that that would be the norm, which it probably wouldn't be the norm. And therefore they think it's force, because others who invent things choose to, kind of be the boss in this scenario where I invented this machine. You do not know how to make the machine. I kind of have to teach you how to make the machine, how to build it, and how it works, and all that. Otherwise, you're not going to know. So why should you be co-owner when I have to do all this work to teach you how to do this? Anyways, nobody should be responsible for your own well-being. Sorry, except for you. That's the way it goes. Anyways, they go, well, the choices are be a part of a hierarchical system or die. That's your choices. No, not the case. What about comedians? They make a living. They're not doing so bad right now. Actually, I shouldn't say I don't know, because I'm not a comedian. But I haven't tried my hand at that. I think I might be able to try my hand at that, but I don't know. It's not up to me, and I'm not probably going to try. So, but either way, if I cared enough and I was starving enough, I bet you I could try. And I bet you I wouldn't do so bad. Or at least I bet you I would try so hard to make enough money to feed myself. Now, let's say that I couldn't do that. Outside of my back door is a forest. I could trap food and figure out how to skin it by myself and eat that. Yeah, not everybody's got that ability to do so. Okay, well, you do have the ability to do? Walk. Did you know that the human being is the most, when it comes to traveling, we have more endurance than any other animal on the planet, including horses? Well, I shouldn't say that, because I don't know if we have more than camels. I do know that we have more than horses. We can actually walk farther or run farther than a horse. When it comes to endurance, we can last longer. We can outlast them. So you can get somewhere where you need to go. I'm sorry, you can't. That's just a fact. And if you say, well, what about water? There's no monopoly on water. You can find water. There's water. Trust me. There's rivers. Stop. Jeez. Nobody owns water. Anyways, moving on, because I only have about a minute left here before I want to stop. So the point is that no one else should be responsible for you, and you can't force people into that. And to me, communism, socialism kind of forces people into that. Oh, it's a contract. You all have to be responsible for everybody else. And that's not fair. Because what if somebody wants to do something on their own that has nothing to do with anybody else? They're not allowed to. But that's where anarchy is beautiful. Because guess what? In anarchy, there's no government. We can all choose our own respective communities to live in. If you want to live in anarcho-communism, if you want to live in anarcho-capitalism, why could not we live in two separate communities that are neighboring but trade with each other, but interfere with each other's systems of beliefs of whatever we want to live under by ourselves? We bicker when what matters is we can't try this until we stop government. That should be our focus. We can't have any of these freedoms to choose. Oh, anarcho-communism, anarcho-capitalism, doesn't matter. None of that matters until we have no government. I propose, let's move forward and stop